located within the waters of the Summer Sea along the northwestern coast of the continent of Sotorios, were the Basilisk Isles, named for the fearsome creatures that once populated the area. Although many of the surviving ruins suggest a long-lost civilization once inhabited the islands, a remnant of their people may still exist on the Isle of Toads, where there is a 40-foot-high statue carved into the shape of a toad, made from a mysterious greasy black stone, similar to other ancient structures found all over the world. The island is also home to a small native population, said to have an unpleasant, fish-like aspect to their faces, where many are born with webbed fingers and toes that may suggest some link to a mysterious civilization of the past. Since those elder days, the Basilisk Isles have become a refuge for pirates, slavers, sellswords, and murderers, where the worst of humanity might find others of their kind. Earning their coin through raiding and the slave trade, the corsairs of the Basilisk Isles became a source of constant threat for the people of Noth and the Summer Isles, as well as any ships passing south of the Valyrian Peninsula. Life on the islands themselves proved harsh and volatile, the hot humid weather a spawning ground for stinging flies, sand fleas, and bloodworms. Many would perish from wildlife and disease, and few settlements were able to survive for very long, with towns like Black Pudding, Port Plunder, Stye, and Hor's Gash constantly being built, abandoned, and then rebuilt in another location. Thousands of years before the Targaryen conquest of Westeros, when the old empire of Gis grew powerful and sent their ships to explore the world around them, they soon came upon the Basilisk Isles and settled the city of Gorgai upon the Isle of Tears. Occupying the territory for several centuries, they were eventually defeated by the Valyrian Freehold in the Third Giscari War, losing the colony to their Dragon Lord enemies, who renamed the settlement Gogosos, using it as a penal colony for the worst of their criminals. They then allowed sorcerers to torture and practice their blood magic upon the prisoners, with some stories even claiming they forced slave women to breed with savage beasts, producing twisted half-human offspring. After Valyria completed their conquest of Gis, they expanded west and eventually went to war with the Rhoynar people, defeating their armies and forcing the survivors to flee aboard 10,000 ships, following their leader Princess Nymeria on a journey to find a new homeland. Making their way to the Basilisk Isles, they immediately faced difficulties, forced to contend with raids from the corsair kings of Axe Isle, Talon, and the Howling Mountains, who burned 200 of their ships and enslaved hundreds. The kings then stated that they would allow the Rhoynar to settle on the Isle of Toads, but in exchange must give up their ships and pay a tribute of 30 virgin girls and pretty boys to each of the kings every year. Refusing, Nymeria led her people away, later trying to settle Sotorios, Nath, and the Summer Isles, until finally finding welcome in Dorne. The Isle of Talon was a popular destination for pirates and slavers, as its deep, honeycombed caves provided a fortified refuge for many of their kind, with Barter Beach becoming a center of trade. Many of the corsairs who journeyed through the waters of the Basilisk Isles were known to decorate their ships with the bloody heads of their enemies, leaving them until the flesh rotted away. Afterwards, the outlaws took the skulls and dumped them on Skull Island as an offering to their dark god. After the doom of Valyria, when the continent of Essos erupted into chaos and war in a time known as the Century of Blood, the settlement of Gogosos became an independent city-state, much like the 9 free cities of Essos. And as they grew rich from the slave trade, many soon considered them as the 10th free city. However, their economic success could not protect them from the Red Death, a terrible plague which tore through the population, killing 9 of every 10 residents. Those few that survived largely fled the islands, abandoning Gogosos and leaving it a desolate ruin for a century. Eventually, outlaws and slavers returned to the islands, with the Carthene pirate Zendaro Zor building a blackstone fortress on Axe Isle, and the Brotherhood of Bones settling the Isle of Flies. As the Basilisk Isles continued to be a refuge for pirates and criminals, various local powers in Essos, often led by Volantis, grew concerned with the threat they posed to trade and slave ships, and so would occasionally gather together their naval strength and invade the southern islands, doing their best to disperse and destroy the corsair threat. However, these assaults were not always successful, like when the city-state of Lys sent Sothos San with a fleet of their ships, given orders to destroy the enemy threat. Yet he instead stole the ships and settled the islands, ruling for 30 years as king of the Basilisk Isles. Do your shopping on Amazon? Then why not use the link in the description box below to either the Canadian, American, or UK Amazon sites, where you support the channel with every purchase at no extra cost to you. So if you do your shopping on Amazon anyway, why not use the link below and help support CivilizationEx? A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like Madam Faith, Winter Sorceress of House Scarisbrick, Warden of the North, and Keeper of the White Cloak, Michael the Stallion Sixsmith, Grandmaster Pupper of the Took, and Ryanon. If you would like to help Civilization X, click on the Patreon link, and please be sure to like and subscribe, and click on the links to see more.